you more of what you are. If you're mean, you got more to be mean with. If you're, giving as you are and your team is, you're going to have more to give with. So I think it just magnifies. It doesn't change anybody, but it magnifies it. And I think most of us have so much emotion tied up around money because we associate emotions that are more important to us, like freedom, to that, or security. And when you get to it, also people don't like to compare around that area. So what I try to do in this latest work I did with my book, Money Master the Game, was to show people how to master money instead of being mastered by it. Because you either master it or it masters you. Right. And trying to pretend it doesn't matter in the world we live doesn't make sense. The real secret is find a way to add more value to other people than any other human being in your industry, in your category. And if you do that, you won't have to worry about money whatsoever. Understanding the life cycles of humanity. There's a book called Generations. It's a big book. It's, I think, 1,000 pages, 800 pages.
Bigger than this book.
Much bigger than this book. But it's a book worth reading because it shows you how, as every 100 years, 1,800 years, we went through the same cycles. Like what we've just gone through economically in 2008 happened 80 years before. And you can go through 1,000 years of Roman history and you see it. And then when you begin to be able to anticipate what's coming, you know how to take advantage of the season. Some people freeze to death in the winter. People that are prepared might snowboard or ski and have a good time. So it's a brilliant book, and it's by Strauss and Howe. Goal, if you own a business, and I would assume a lot of your viewers are business owners or getting started in business, no matter how good you are in business, think about this. The one universal rule that idiots in finance know is diversification. It's the only free lunch. You've got to diversify. Because if you put all your eggs in one basket, no matter how good the basket is, one day that real estate market, that stock market, that bond market, that collectibles market, whatever you invest in, Ray Dalio showed me statistically, it'll drop 50 to 70% on a day. Now, if you're later in life when that happens, it's over for you.
Right.
So you have to diversify, and yet most people, they know real estate, so they do it, or they know stocks, so they do it, or they grew up with their parents flipping things, and it's the wrong thing to do. So you've got to diversify in order for you to be able to truly succeed, and that's why when you own a business, if you put all your money in your business, which is what most of us do naturally,
a lot of risk.
You put all your eggs in one basket, and there's things that can happen. I mean, let's say you spent 20 years and you figured out how to put together the ultimate map. And you remember Garmin came out with this thing called the TomTom. I don't know if you remember. You used to put on your. Are you old enough to remember that? You used to put on your phone. Or you used to put on your dash. Cost $100. It was a breakthrough.
They were making like 100 million or something.
They were. 6 months later, what happened?
The iPhone came out with Google Maps.
These little bastards, excuse my French, came out with it, put Google Maps, put their own map on here, and it costs how much? $0. What's that going to do to your business when someone takes your product or service and gives it away for free? So I always tell people, competition happens, technology happens. What you must do is have a second business with no moving parts, no people, no time. Maybe it takes you 3 days a year for 2 or 3 hours after you've read the book. You put it in place and you measure it 2 or 3 times a year. That's it. Go on with your life. Now if there's a trouble in your business, you're financially set. In my life, have 31 companies now. We have, what do we have? 1,200 employees, 7 different industries. We do $5 billion in sales. I mean, that used to be, me and my seminar business. It's grown geometrically. But with all those moving parts, the only way I've been able to succeed is because I've taken every one of those businesses and I've diversified my assets so that when things were in trouble, I still had enough economics to take care of myself and keep the business going. So everybody needs to create a money machine that works while you sleep, that doesn't have moving parts, and that's what this is really about. People happy, it's really 2 things. It's progress. Like even, you achieve your goals, and oftentimes people achieve a goal and then they go, is this all there is? It's because it didn't meet their deeper needs. Our need is to keep growing. Business is growing or it's dying, a relationship's growing or it's dying. So if you're feeling like you're not even there, but you're making progress, it feels alive, because we all grow or die. And then when you make progress, when you grow, you got something to give. My very first teacher was a man named Jim Rohn, and he was a personal development speaker. And he had this 3.5-hour seminar he would do that I went to when I was 17 years old. I was already reading books. I was obsessed with wanting answers. I want to know what made the difference in the quality of people's lives. Not because I was intellectually interested, but because I grew up in a really tough environment. I had 4 different fathers. There was a lot of, my mom was a great human being who loved me dearly, but she, abused both alcohol and prescription drugs. So she was very physically abusive. And I was, believe it or not, 5'1" in high school. I was a little guy. So I got the, beat out of me pretty regularly for things that I didn't do anything to do with. And so it made me try to figure out what made her work, what makes life work. It made me more of a practical psychologist. And the modeling concept came because Jim Rohn used to have this phrase. He said, success leaves clues. He said, if there's anything you want in your life, don't assume that somebody has some special gift. They may have a gift, but they probably developed it, most of it. And if you sow the same seeds, you'll reap the same reward. So figure out what this person's doing different than anyone else and do that. He used to have a funny way of describing it. He used to say, Tony, find out what poor people read and don't read it. It's like, because he said, that's the fabric they're trying to build their mind from. Find out somebody who's successful, wealthy, not just financially wealthy, but somebody who's rich emotionally and spiritually and physically and financially, and find out how do they live their life differently? What are the things they believe? What are some of the daily disciplines that they're a part of? And so really early on, I got obsessive about wanting to have all the answers. So I said, I'm gonna read a book a day. Because I figured, a person takes 10, 15 years of their life, they pour 2 or 3, 4 years into this book, and you absorb in a few hours, literally a decade's worth of life experience. And I'm into compressing time. So I didn't read a book a day, but I read 700 books in the area of human development, psychology, physiology, all of my first real 7 years of reading, right, my youth. In high school, I was Mr. Solution. You have a problem, I have the solution. Ego is edging God out. That's when you make up to make yourself feel better. But I think if you've really done something, you know you have, and no one can take that from you. And so I'm proud of who I am as a man. I'm proud of the things that, what goes on when the camera's not on. And there are people around me all the time that will tell other people stories about what I'm really like, so I don't have to communicate that to people. It gets shared. So I don't know. There's so many things in life. I don't measure them as big versus small.
Sure.
My wife was somebody who would see one person and be thrilled, and I had to see 10,000. I think so. She's balanced it out for me. I feel like life is short, and while you're here, I want to have the most impact that I can. So I go deep and I go wide. But every interaction to me is an important interaction, and sometimes that interaction is just being kind. I know it sounds stupid, but kindness can. To the right place at the right time. Somebody can be suicidal, you don't know it, you're being kind, and it changes their state. Yeah. There's an interesting story of there's a gentleman who wanted to kill Nixon, and he couldn't get access to Nixon. It's a true story. And so he wrote a journal, that's how we know the details of it, and he decided he's going to go after Wallace, and he's going to shoot Wallace. And he actually could do that too. And when they read his journal, it was fascinating. He didn't want to kill Nixon because he didn't like him or Wallace. He just wanted to be famous. He wanted to be worth something. And one of the reasons he didn't kill Nixon is he was going after Nixon, and he was this far from the president, and an old woman bumped into him just as he's reaching his pocket to get this gun. And in the middle of this, everything's frenzied. He wants to shoot, become the most famous man, another one of those assassins. And this woman grabbed his hand and said, I'm so sorry. I'm just so sorry. Right? And he said in his journal afterwards, his hand was on the gun.
Wow.
And her looking in his eyes with this love in her eyes and this kindness in her eyes, he said, I couldn't make her witness that, and he put the gun away.
Oh, man.
That saved Nixon's life.
Wow.
Right? So we went after Wallace, But that's the power of a moment of kindness. So I think we underestimate, somebody came and fed my family when I was 11 years old, Obviously the person must not be alive still because I've told the story these last 20 years, and they haven't reached out to me.
Yeah.
But imagine what the impact of that was by that one little act of kindness.
Should I be going all in on? As millennials that are starting businesses, like many people in our community, they're going all in on their business, and they're sacrificing profit for growth. They don't have that much spare change. What's your advice there? What are your thoughts?
I'm really glad you asked me that question, because every entrepreneur I meet, I have this conversation with one-on-one people that are my friends. Yeah. And I do it in my business seminars too, and I show people, I do business boot camps, and I spend 5 days showing them how to grow their business 100% plus, and then I take a half a day and show them what to do to have a second business. Here's what I'd say to you if you're a founder out there, if you're somebody starting an organization. The amount of money that you get, whatever cash you have, if it's a growing business, will always be eaten up by the organization. So a friend of mine, Ken Blanchard, who wrote the 1 Minute Manager books you may have read years ago, I met him 30 years ago, and I helped him take 5 strokes off his golf game, so he thought I was God. And I don't play golf. I just know what to do here and here with somebody. And so afterwards, he goes, I want to do something for you. I said, look, you don't do anything. About 2 months later, he calls me up and says, I want to have lunch with you. I want to give you a gift. He said, I want to share with you the best financial advice that changed my life. So what is it? He said, this very wealthy friend of mine saw I was writing a book, and he saw I was growing my business, and he said, I want to tell you something. A business, he said what I told you earlier, will take whatever cash is there, because a growing business, there's always needs.
Yeah.
He said, you have to draw a line in the sand. And he said, your book should be the first line in the sand. You should put none of that money in your company. The clients that like the book will become clients of the company, and you shouldn't take that money. You should put in an investment account that you don't touch, and it continues to compound to create financial freedom. He said, Tony, I took his advice, and then I went through 3 different stages where we almost went bankrupt in the business because I had so much cash and money, I wasn't stressed. So I was able to keep my head straight and run my business better. Because if you think about it, and I did that too. I did it with my first books. Now I give away all the profits of my books. My first books and my first infomercials.
Yes.
And I worked, 275 days a year on the road. I never earned as much as I did by compounding, because compounding changes the game. So what you have to do if you're a business owner, you have to get yourself where you say, I'm gonna put a tax on my business.
Yep.
Not the government tax, my tax. My future self is gonna be free forever. Because look, in business, 96% of businesses don't make it in 10 years. I'm sure all of yours will, but even the 4% that make it aren't necessarily profitable. So, and the reason is because government can change the rules, right? Taxes can shift radically effective. Clients shift their preferences. Technology, new competition.
Yeah.
So I tell everybody, I believe you'll make your business succeed, but everybody should have a business on the side with no employees, no moving parts, 20 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes a year to rebalance it, so that if anything happens here, you're still strong and you can make this stronger. Or if this goes well and this goes well as well, you have twice as much money and you're there. But you gotta understand what this compounding does, right? This compounding, you don't need a lot of money to get really, really wealthy. One of the examples I put in the book here was the example of a man who talks to his son. He's 18 years old, and the man understands finance and understands the power of compounding. So he says to his son, you got your first job, you're 18, I'm gonna require that you take $300 every month, $150 a paycheck, and we're gonna automate it to this separate account. And his son's like, I can't do that. He goes, let me tell you why you wanna do it. It'll be up to you. If you promise to do that and you really do it and you automate it so you don't see it, and you do that for 8 years, you'll never have to invest again and you'll be financially set for life. His son goes, come on, Dad. 8 years, $300 a month, what is that? If he does the math, he goes, that's $28,000, over 8 years, $28,800. $28,800, how's that gonna do anything? Especially if I don't have any more money after 27 years old. He goes, let me show you, son. The market's gone up 10% over 30 years. Let's apply a lower number, let's do 8%, be conservative. Let me show you what the numbers are when they compound. You know how much he has when he retires? $1.8 million, and all he put in was $28,800. People ask my wife all the time, what's something about Tony that nobody knows? And she says, the level he prepares. So that was Ray Dalio. I know I got a chance to be with literally the Da Vinci of investing. Most average people never even heard his name, but you have to have 10 years ago, you should have a $5 billion net worth, and you had to give him $100 million to start with for him to talk to you. Right. Today he won't talk to you and take your money no matter how much money you have. He's closed his fund out, he won't do a dime more. So to do that, I couldn't consciously walk in and just say, okay, I've read everything that's available. I had to watch every video. There's only a few out there. I had to read every piece. I had to tear it apart and see if I could understand his entire structure of investing, so that when I was there, I could ask questions no one else has asked before. And as a result, he actually shared with me, he's averaged a 23% return for 21 straight years. Billions and billions and billions of dollars. Smartest man, one of the smartest men alive in that area. And because I understood so much, we could pitch and catch. Right. Most people, they can just throw the ball, right? But I want to be able to throw the ball and have you throw it to me and throw it right back to you, right? That's where we get something that's really exciting. And because I prepared at that level, he was saying to me afterwards, he goes, you know this better than anybody I know. And so it opened him up more, and you talked to me in more detail. And in the end, he actually gave me a strategy that I said to him, I said, look, I said, Ray, you're one of the most generous men I know. I said, you've just given me this incredible strategy, but the strategy was like explaining why most people lose money, and here's how he's made money in every market, right? Pretty complex strategy. And I said, the strategy's great, but it's kind of like you told me you want to build a chocolate cake, get some chocolate, get some sugar. You didn't tell me the amounts. I mean, the amounts are everything, right? You gotta have the right amounts. And he goes, Tony, I can't give you that. That's my secret sauce. And I said, Ray, you can give it to me. He goes, I can't. He goes, that's what I get, that's why, I get the money I do. I said, no, you don't. You haven't taken money for 10 years. I said, you're gonna give away half your net worth anyway. I said, you just got done telling me the average guy is never gonna do this. Help me out, give me your secret sauce, right? And I got him laughing. He goes, well, Tony, it's kind of complex. I said, I'm good at taking complex and making it simple. He goes, well, I use leverage. I said, create one without leverage so the average guy could do it.
Right.
And then I got this chill down the back of my spine when he said, well, it wouldn't be perfect. I said, your idea not perfect is better than anybody else on earth. I said, tell me. And then I took out a pen and just said, tell me the numbers, right? And he looked at me and goes, well, let's try this. And he starts to lay this thing out. So when I'm done, I can feel vibration in my body. Like, I got something nobody's got that I can give to the world that'll be extraordinary. And he goes, go test that. He goes, no, when people talk about testing, they look back 5 years or 10 years. He said, but the past doesn't equal the future that way. But if you were to test something over 75 years, the entire modern time of history, that's what you should test that formula. Back test it for 75 years, come back and tell me what you get. 85% of the time, it's for 75 years. Think of how much the world has changed in the last 10 years or 20 years. 85% of the time it makes money. The 15% of the time it didn't. The maximum drawdown in 75 years was not 20% like you've seen, or 30 or 40 you've seen in the marketplace over the years. It's 3.9%. The average loss is 1.7. Average gain is 10%. So if you could go to Vegas and you could be right 85% of the time, and when you lost, only lose, 1%, 1.7%, how you'd be investing a little bit, you'd be gambling a little bit, right? So he gave that to me. So I got those types of things because I was so prepared. And so when I go to do an audience, a big audience, like I do my Date with Destiny seminar, people do 20 pages of homework, and I read all that for a couple thousand people. I won't remember their faces, I won't remember, it's in my brain. So when somebody stands up, something inside me recognizes the pattern, or recognizes this is the pattern that multiple people in the room need to deal with, and my brain clicks in and makes it happen. So I believe, garbage in, garbage out, as simplistic as it is, that if you keep putting unbelievable quality amount in, when it's time for you to cash that spiritual, emotional, physical, financial, business check, it ain't gonna bounce because you've been making deposits and you have plenty to give. You're not just winging it to see what happens. So I'm intense about that, but I also love it because I'm always growing too, because I'm always learning more than I need to teach anybody else.